Okay, so in this question we are doing a, looks like a guessing game program. So the computer is going to pick a random number between 1 and 100 and it's going to let you guess the answer. And so it's going to give you hints based on what you've got, or what you answered. So if your guess is right, obviously you got it and it's going to quit. If it's higher, it's going to tell you you're too high. If you guess lower, it's going to tell you you're too low. It's also going to give you like some hints on how close you are to the answer. So based on the distance you are away, it's going to say whether you're like boiling, hot, warm, cold, or freezing. Okay, so again, we're looking at the input processing output model of problem solving, and we are looking at how we might start coding in chunks to make things easier to test and to kind of make some progress as we go. So maybe we'll look at first just getting the user to keep guessing numbers and to check and see whether they got it or not. And then we will go into doing the hints and how we might do that. So maybe we'll then do the too high or too low hints, and then once we get that working, we can look at the boiling, hot, warm, cold, and freezing ideas. So in terms of that first part, just getting the user to continually guess, looks like we're going to probably need some type of infinite loop to make that happen. So if we're going to just write maybe some of that down first, just to kind of plan. All right. So we're going to have some type of infinite loop, right? And inside that infinite loop, we will like get the user guess, right? And we have to check if it's correct. Okay, and I guess even before that we need to generate the random answer. All right, the computer generated random answer. All right, and that's just going to print over and over again, and if it check if it's correct, we'll just we'll break out of the loop. Okay, and then we can print some type of output message like got it, or something appropriate, right? So that might be a good place to start, at least get us started with this program. So we can go into our we'll go into our IDE here and start coding that up. Now, just for maybe testing purposes, I'm not going to generate the random number just the first time because I just want to make sure that it's correct, and I don't want to have to keep guessing random numbers with no hints. So I'm going to make this a target value, go to like 40 to start with, and then we will change it once we know once the code is working. So we need an infinite loop, right? And we're going to get a user guess. So so enter your guess. All right. And we're just going to check whether that is correct or not. So if guess equals target, we will break out of the loop and we will print you got it to the screen. If it's not the target, it should just ask me to guess again. All right, so let's just test that out. Okay, so enter our guess. If it's 30, 20, 10, 50, so it's keeping guessing, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. And if I enter my target, right, it stops and says you got it. Okay, so that's good. That part's working nicely. Now let's go back and take a look at how we might want to deal with the too high or too low hints. Okay, so what do we need here? So we're going to have to not only check if it's correct, but we need to check whether it's too high or too low. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate the distance that the guess is from the target. Okay, so in here, all right, I'm going to calculate the distance, which will be your guess minus your target. Okay, and if the guess is, if the distance is positive, that means your guess was too high. So if distance positive, you're too high. If distance is negative, then you're too low. Right? If distance is 0, right, then you break. Right? So we actually wouldn't need necessarily this, right, if we did something like that. And I guess we don't even need the 3 if statement, so I could use an elif, right, and just an else, right? And I don't even need to check distance is 0. So check if it's too high, too low. If not, you must have gotten it, and we can check that out. All right, so let's give that a code and see if that works out nicely. All right, so we will calculate a distance equals guess minus target. Okay, and we'll say if distance is bigger than 0, we're going to say print. What do I want to print out? Too high. Okay. Else if distance is less than 0, then we're going to print too low. Okay. And then else we'll just break. Okay. So let's check to see whether that is okay. Oh, what did I do? I always forget those. Okay. Okay, so my target is still 40, so I know what's going on and I can check to see the value. So let's enter a guess. So 35, so I'm too low, which is correct. 45, so I'm too high. All right, and if I enter my guess, I got it. All right, so that seems to be working correctly now. And we should go back and let's deal with the second hint. Okay, so what did the second hint say? It says it's less than 5 away, between 5 and 10 away. Okay, so I'm going to need a bunch of if-else statements here. The only issue I have now, I could use that distance variable as long as distance is positive. I could just directly compare like distance between 5 and 10, distance between 10 and 20, distance between 20 and 50, as long as distance is positive, right? But it's not always positive. If I'm too low, then distance is negative. So what I think I'll do for that is, if it is negative, I'm just going to make it positive, right? Because once it makes this decision, it doesn't matter. So distance is distance times -1. Okay? So that way, what I can do down here for my second hint is I can say things like, if distance is bigger than 0 and less than 5, right, I could print boiling. Okay, so it wouldn't matter now whether my guess was too high or too low, because my distance is always positive and it can compare between 0 and 5. If I didn't do this, okay, then I would also need if statements if it was like -5 to 0, right? Or in my next statement, right? I'm checking distance is bigger than 5 and less than 10. Okay, so I'm printing hot in that case, right? So if I wasn't changing distance to positive, I'd also have to check whether on the other side of the spectrum. But I think that makes the logic a little more complicated. If you got a better way, then go ahead and you can code it your way, but this is just how I thought about it. Okay, I don't think I'm going to write anything else out here. I mean, remember the point is to kind of just plan out everything before you code it. It doesn't need to look pretty, right? It just needs to kind of get your mind in the right spot so you can start to code things. All right, so we'll go back to the IDE. Yes. So maybe some comments here might help. So getting guess and distance away. This is hint 1. We'll do hint 2 down here. Okay, so it's just a bunch of if-elif statements. So if distance is bigger than 0 and distance is less than or equal to 5. I don't think I specified like where the equal should be, so I'm just making that up as I go. So we can print boiling. Okay. Now we'll check distance is bigger than 5 and distance is less than or equal to 10. And we'll print hot. And distance is bigger than 10 and distance is less than or equal to 20. We'll print warm. Okay. And distance is bigger than 20 and distance is less than or equal to 50. We are cold, and anything else is freezing. Okay. And I think that should work, but let's find out. Okay, remember my target is still 40 here. So I'm entering my guess. So let's just try 39. So too low and freezing. So clearly that is not working quite correct in this case. So what did we do wrong here? So it looks like I just didn't get my, I didn't change my distance up here. I forgot about that. So distance equals distance times -1. Okay. Oh, okay, I'll break my program here. Okay. So 39. Too low boiling, makes sense. Okay, 41, right? Too high boiling, also making sense. Okay, so if I enter 5, too low and I'm cold, I'm within 50. Okay, if I enter 90, let's say 105, too high and I'm freezing. So it appears that my if statements are working correctly. And if I guess 40, it prints no hints because I got it. And our loop broke before it printed the second hint there. Okay. So the only thing now would be to just change the target to a random number, and then we can finish off the program. So random.randint and between 0 and 100. Okay. So let's just play this game now. So enter our guess. So 50. I am too low and I'm warm. Okay, so I'm between 10 and 20 away. So maybe 60. Oh, I'm too low still, but I'm hot. So now I'm between 5 and 10 away. So maybe 65. Too low and I'm boiling. 66, 67. 68, 69. Oh, I'm right at 70 is the answer. Okay. So there we go. Right. So our little guessing game We used the input processing output model. We broke our program down into manageable chunks, and we were testing constantly as we were writing our program. We did not try to write the entire thing all at once and then have to debug, right, 7 different things at once, and making it almost impossible to do that.